was anyway.
All right, Max, EJ from 3kingsboxing.com. Do you think that part of Eleider Alvarez's inadequacies in the ring tonight had to do with him thinking that he could come in and fight Kovalev based on saying, hey, I knocked him out in the first fight, you think I could fight him the same way?
Well, I thought he had the right idea. You have to be careful with Kovalev early, especially if he's boxing nice and easy. Which, I mean, first of all, at the stare down, he didn't look right to me. I thought he looked scared.
Right.
And then he wanted to touch gloves, like third or fourth round. Third round, he wants to touch gloves. He really, like the bully, wants to make friends.
Right.
And Alvarez is like, nah, forget that. And I thought, ooh, this is going Alvarez's way. So it's not that Alvarez was wrong about, you know, the idea. But at a certain point, when you see this guy isn't folding, I'm going to have to take more risks. Alvarez was not willing to take the risks. He was relying on Kovalev folding at the first sign of adversity, and when Kovalev didn't do that, Alvarez wasn't willing to do what it would take to try to see if Kovalev would quit, you know, to push it farther. And if Kovalev wouldn't quit, to just beat him straight up. And that's on Alvarez.
Max, regarding boxing, Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez was in the crowd today, moving up to 175. He said he wanted the winner of tonight's fight. Obviously, Kovalev, is Zurdo ready to become a challenge that is Kovalev?
I suspect he'll have a fight at 75 first to get his feet wet at the division, and then see who he'd want to, you know, what names at the top he would make an opponent for. Not that he views himself as an opponent, an undefeated middleweight titleist, but he would likely be the underdog against either one of these. Certainly against Bivol or Kovalev or the elite of the division.
Max, this is Jaime with All Access Elite Boxing. I want to ask you a question about Oscar Valdez. Leading up to this fight, we spoke with Oscar 2 days prior to the fight. He mentioned to us that, you know, when he suffered his broken jaw in the ring, the hardest part about that fight wasn't the fight itself, it was after the fight. When he had his mouth wired shut for 2 months, he said he suffered from a panic attack and thought he was going to die the first 2 days. Coming back from the ring 11 months, how would you assess his performance tonight, considering that he's joined the likes of Eddie Reynoso?
Valdez is a very good fighter. He would make a very good fight with any of the 26-pounders. They put him in with the right guy tonight. You know, Top Rank has been, and I'm not just saying this because I'm at ESPN and Top Rank's at ESPN, I'll give it to you straight. Top Rank has been the most successful promoter in the history of boxing. Aaron's been doing this since the 70s, right? When he was there with Don King, you know, Don King was actually the most dominant promoter, but that was done on the cult of his personality. Arum and now Todd DeBuff have a structure in place and have been non-stop the most successful, or one of the 2 most successful promotional outfits, even as the landscape has changed, for 50 years, right? So one of the reasons for that is they have very, very good matchmakers. Bruce Trampler and Brad Goodman are as good as it gets. Carl Moretti works at the company, he's not even a matchmaker, and he was an excellent matchmaker. So they put him in right. They put Valdez in with a guy, Tomasoni, who can't hit at all, whose technique isn't even very good. And it's not that Valdez didn't deserve it. He had 3 tough fights. You don't put a guy in a killer fight after killer fight. You need to get him some rounds, get his confidence back, especially coming off a busted jaw. So, but that is the reason I think Valdez looked as good as he did first fight back like that. Because he was with a guy who was a soft touch. That is true. Valdez is a good fighter. He's a very good fighter. I thought he looked calm, which was, you know, one of the things you're looking for in a situation like that, when he may be a little, you know, let me test the jaw, let me see what it feels like. He looked calm. He boxed very well. He mixed it up to the head and body. He flashed knockout power. He's a very good fighter, and even though Frampton doesn't have the belt anymore, if you can't make a fight for a unification of belts, a fight with Frampton and Valdez would be really fun to watch, and any fight at 26 involving Valdez would be fun to watch.
What would you think he would have to do, in a sense, to fight a Leo Santa Cruz, a Warrington, a Darrell Russell Jr.? When we spoke to Oscar at the weigh-ins, he mentioned that those are the types of fights that he wants, his promoter wants, and that they're willing to make. What do you think it's going to take for those fights to happen?
Well, I mean, promoters and networks are going to have to come to some understanding, and if the money is there, they'll figure out a way to divvy it up. I don't see any of the fighters you just mentioned as kind of long-term cash cows, in the sense that none of them look like blue-chip, pound-for-pound type fighters, but they're all good fighters. all the fighters you mentioned, think of how many permutations of those guys make fun, evenly matched fights. So from that point of view, there's no reason not to make those fights. So I think there is a good chance that at least some of the permutations, some permutations of the fighters you mentioned will be seen in the near future, including involving Valdez.
James Bowers from FightHype.com. Teofimo Lopez looked like a world beater tonight. Do you see him winning a world title this year?
That depends. Are you going to put him in with a guy who has a world title? If so, he's going to win it. You know, like, he is a sensational talent. You know, and look, we all know what it is. Occasionally, you get a guy like Julio Cesar Chavez, the daddy, right? Who wasn't all fast, twitchy, but was a great fighter. Occasionally, you get an Evander Holyfield, who also wasn't like the most blazing fast guy you've ever seen, but was a great fighter. But for the most part, when we look at these prospects and we're trying to figure out who's going to be the next pound-for-pound champ or the next elite guy, we're looking for fast, twitchy stuff. We're looking for the stuff that Lopez showed. When you combine that with the kind of punching power he flashes and the technique, it's not like he's the most precise technical fighter in the world, but that's a guy who knows what he's doing. He knows how to box. And then you have the attitude. Like, I know that's going to turn people off, and for good reason. When you knock a guy out, because the referee did a horrible job, but and the Texas Commission is weak, and we all know that, and they consistently assign referees who consistently show bad judgment. It's not just they stop fights too early, because sometimes they do that, right? Lawrence Cole back in the day, like, he'd ensure the fight and then stop the fighter, but also they just show bad judgment. They stop the fight too late when the fight. And twice tonight we saw that with referees that the commission approves looking completely clueless, and that includes in the Lopez fight. Should have been a first-round knockout. It was an unnecessary second round, oh my God, the type of stuff you don't want to hear about later on in the guy's life knockout. And after that, Lopez goes up to him and does the broom thing, like he's sweeping out the trash. That's a bad look. Now, Lopez says, I understand, look, he's fired up in the moment. He's a competitive guy. They're talking trash before the fight. He's young, you know, and hot-headed. I get that. Lopez says after the fight that, look, this is him, basically, and he's going to turn some people off, but they're going to be interested in him. And he's right. They will be interested in him. I don't think that's a good enough excuse to behave that way. But it's not my life, it's his life. He's going to either learn from these kind of things or not. He'll decide the kind of person he wants to be. I've spoken to him. I think he's a good kid. At least when I've interacted with him, he hasn't seemed like a bad guy. But that kind of behavior will draw attention and yet turn people off. That said, what does the package I just described say to you? Right? The kind of personality that will be polarizing. A sensational physical package who fights with bad intentions, that's a star. And the reason that's significant is because the way boxing is structured right now, and it's really always been this way, it's just very obvious right now because there's so much money in boxing. The way boxing is structured is promoters are siloed with networks. So Lomachenko, it's not Top Rank's fault that Lomachenko beats everyone so easily that he goes to junior lightweight, still does it, that he goes to lightweight, still does it. Even at lightweight, it's like, who can he fight? Oh, Mikey Garcia. We like the Garcia fight because that's a dude who's also a top pound-for-pound fighter, but is naturally bigger than Lomachenko. That's what it takes to make us believe that his opponent has a chance, right? But Mikey would rather go up and fight Errol Spence. By the way, hats off to Mikey for fighting Errol Spence. But we all know why. Because in a sense, it's less of a risk. You're staying in your promotional outfit at your network. You don't have to do business like as difficult business. You also move up in weight even if you lose. Look, you took a chance, right? Okay. That's the reality. Who else can Lomachenko fight? You got to find someone that makes it interesting, or else this sensational kind of generational talent spends his whole career and never gets to be in the kind of fight we want to see him in. Again, not his fault. Brigandiao couldn't do it. The Axeman couldn't do it. They're really, really good fighters, and they just can't even test them. When you see a guy like Lopez, 21 doing that, you go, that guy. I want to see Lomachenko fight that guy. If not right now, kind of in the not too distant future. And for that, because he's a star. He has a star quality in and out of the ring. Lopez does not see himself as an opponent. He sees himself as the star, himself as the champ. That's why a Lomachenko fight is so interesting.
Sarge with Pugilism Company. We got a big fight coming up in Dallas in March. How do you see
which fight are you referring to?
Errol Spence Jr. versus Mikey Garcia. How do you see that playing out?
Look, Spence is correctly the favorite in my view, because Spence is a young, athletic fighter who has skills, is very tough. You've seen him in fights already where, like, oh, that's not exactly going his way. Kell Brook was doing some things, and he did not get discouraged, and he can punch. Again, it's a rare combination. The athletic fighter who can punch and has some skills and is tough and is willing to use those skills aggressively. A lot of times fighters can hide behind, if they have a big athletic advantage, they can hide behind that and minimize risks to just, why not play it safe? When you see a guy who's like, no, I can punch, I'm fast, I'm gonna get this thing over with, he connects with the fans differently. Spence is the real deal. That's why the real fight everyone wants to see in and around that weight class is Crawford, who you know is the real deal, and Spence, right? Because Spence has a little natural size advantage to offset some of Crawford's skills advantage, really. That's the fight everyone wants to see. In the meantime, again, because of the way boxing is structured, we get the fight that we didn't ask for, but the fight that we're getting and we're not mad at.
Still a good fight.
Mikey is a brave guy. And a very confident guy. He believes in his skills. He fights dispassionately. It's not like with a sense of urgency or anything. He's like Emmanuel Stewart, the late great Emmanuel Stewart, used to talk about Felix Trinidad this way: killer robot. He programs what he has to do and just executes the plan, and the other guy's flat on his back. Even at welterweight, where the power isn't the same, it's not like one punch concussive power. You have to respect his power. He's not just clinical. He's clinical with some pop. So it's not out of the question Mikey could beat Errol Spence. He is the more skillful fighter. He's not as fast. He's not as big a puncher or as big, period. But he has had more time as a pro to refine his skill. So he has real chances in that fight, and hats off to him for making it.
What is it that you think Mikey would have to do in order to pull out the victory?
Well, I think it's important that Mikey, excuse me. I think it's important that Mikey can still pop in welterweight. I just mentioned, I know, he can still pop, but we've seen him punch enough to kind of get someone's respect. But at the top level at 147, can he hit hard enough to actually break a guy down? Because Spence seems to me to be the kind of guy where if he's losing a fight, he's going to step on the gas. He seems to have that kind of mentality. So at that point, it's not enough just to continue to box. You have to put something on him that can really break him down. And that's what this fight will boil down to. Can Mikey carry the power up to 47 a little better than we've seen? It's not that he hasn't done it all, but a little more resemble the fighter in the lighter weight classes that we've seen. If the answer is yes, he can win the fight.
Hey Max, Big King Boxing. Keith Thurman made his return, and we all saw him called Sergey Lopez. What do you think he would have to do to get his name thrown back into the hat?
Thurman's name is in the hat. First of all, Thurman's a popular fighter. He connects. He has star power. Secondly, Thurman's a very tough guy. So he's one of these guys. Tim Bradley was kind of like this, although I know he's not the same kind of fighter as Thurman. Tim Bradley was a B+ fighter that was more than a B+ because he had something extra in him. I think Thurman's that kind of guy. If I just look at Thurman's skill and athletic ability, I say that's a B+. But he's more than that because he's got something in him. Just like Kell Brook to me was sort of like the next thing before the top pound for pound fighters, right? How good could Kell Brook be? And we saw he could get to the place I just said. Thurman to me is that kind of guy. Can the whole of Thurman be more than the sum of his parts? So just because, look, if I polled you guys, who do you think wins, Thurman or Spence?
Spence.
Spence.
Everyone thinks Spence. I think Spence too. Are we sure?
No.
Because Thurman's that kind of cat. You're not like, okay, we think that Spence beats him, but I'd like to see it. So just to be clear, when I talk Crawford and Spence and these kind of guys, yes, I see and believe the same thing you guys do. But we all also know that there have been enough examples in boxing history where you take a guy for granted, it turns out, no, you can't. And the funny thing is, a lot of times, like I think of Vernon Forrest, it becomes an exercise in righteousness for people in the press to be like, he deserves his shot. But when you actually ask people in the press, you think he's gonna win? No. But he just deserves his shot because it would be an injustice if he didn't get it. But what happened when Forrest got his shot? He won. So it's not enough just to say, hey, Thurman should fight one of these top guys, but we think he's going to lose. I'm not sure. And saying he deserves it is more than just an exercise in justice. It's like we really don't know.